describe Jason Pierre-Paul, his role as a leader on the field as a player, and just everything he's been through as an example for his teammates?
Yeah, perseverance. I mean, the guy's the epitome of perseverance for all the things that, the car wreck and the fireworks. But JPP he plays with a heart that's big as a lion and high energy. Guys just love playing with him. When he speaks, they listen. He doesn't speak a lot because he lets his play do his talking. But when he speaks, everybody listens.
Next, we'll go to Heather with NFL International.
Hi, Bruce. Congratulations on the Super Bowl.
Thank you, Heather.
We had a talk to Tyrann Mathieu the other day, and he had nothing but great things to say about you. And also credits not only you, but your wife for being there for him, not only, on the field, but you guys helped him a lot off the field during your time in Arizona. Can you please just touch base on your relationship with Tyrann and how special he is as a person? And also, have you guys had a chance to talk at all?
We have not. I saw him, in pregame warmups the last time we played him, and my favorite draft choice of all time. And I just love him, his passion for football. But I am so proud of the man that he has become. He's a great football player, but he's a better man.
Thank you.
Next, we'll go to Chris Murray.
Can you hear me now? Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. How much has Byron Leftwich meant to you as an offensive coordinator and working with quarterbacks, and how much has he grown? And, the obvious talk of him being qualified as a head coach, how much has he grown as an assistant coach?
Oh, it's leaps and bounds. He came in, he was so bright as a quarterback, and he had that natural leadership about him, going all the way back to Marshall when they were carrying him down the field. That part of him has never left. He was a smart player, so he became a very smart coach quickly. I can honestly say I wouldn't be coaching if Byron wasn't available.
Next, we'll go to Mark with the Chicago Sun-Times.
Hey, Bruce, relationships obviously big key in your business, and you and Jason Light, that led you to where you are today. I was curious, how did you forge that relationship with Jason? I guess it goes back obviously to Arizona, but with one guy coaching and another guy in personnel, how is a relationship like that forged to the point where you have so much trust and faith in each other?
Yeah, we had the same situation in Arizona as we have here. Scouts and coaches, we're on the same team. We work hand in hand. So when Jason was running the meetings for Steve Keim, Steve and I were great friends. Jason was just right there with us. And so when we were evaluating people, it was coaches, scouts, everybody. And Jason had a huge part of that. And so did our coaching staff. So we believe in it's one team, one cause. It's not personnel versus coaches.
Next, we'll go to Andrew Chapazzi.
Hi, Bruce. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I know you're still figuring things out with some injuries and everything, but what has Jordan Whitehead's progress been like as a player the last couple of years? Where has he progressed the most, and maybe what is his ceiling as a safety for you guys?
Well, the one thing about Jordan, he'll throw his face in the fan. Now, he's not afraid of mixing it up, and he has really improved in his pass defense, especially his man coverage. He's worked extremely hard at it, and he's bulked himself up so that he can be as physical a safety as there is, and he's got a great nose for the ball. So he just continues to improve, especially in his pass defense.
Next, we'll go to Jen Lane.
Hey, Coach, could you just give us an update on how your guys are progressing? Jordan Whitehead, Antoine Winfield Jr., Antonio Brown specifically?
Yeah, all those guys were limited today. They got about half a practice in, and most of them look pretty good. We'll see how the swellings goes tomorrow on AB for sure, and Antonio. Jordan, he had a non-contact jersey on, but he was flying around looking pretty good.
Next, we'll go to Karen Loftus.
Hey, Coach. You actually just talked about this earlier about Byron's one leg game, as I'm calling it, and I actually wanted to ask you about that. Have you ever used that video in your coaching, maybe like on your onboarding, and be like, if you're not this kind of tough, we don't need you on our team?
No, I have not, but that speaks volumes for Byron, and I think that picture emulates who he is to the T.
Next, we'll go to DJ with Forbes.
Hey, how's it going, Coach Arians?
Good. How you doing, TJ?
I'm doing good. So obviously, you guys were a 7-9 team last year, even though you guys have a lot of talent. This year, you bring in Tom Brady. What is the biggest difference that you've seen, the biggest value that Tom Brady has brought to this offense and this team?
Well, I think his confidence level and his preparation level, but I think the biggest difference is obviously in the turnover ratio. Eliminating turnovers, creating more turnovers, and protecting the football. So we're still, I think, a very explosive offense with Tom, but we have eliminated a lot of turnovers and just his overall leadership.
Next, we'll go to Paolo with ESPN.
Can you hear me, Coach?
Yes.
Sorry about that. They call it the quarterback whisperer, right? Having worked with Big Ben and Carson Palmer and also Andrew Luck. I'm wondering, how has the relationship been with Tom Brady? And if you had to tweak maybe something that you've done in the past with him, and what have you learned, if anything, about the quarterback position with Tom Brady?
Well, I think with Tom, there's not much to tweak. It's just a matter of verbiage. When he came in, and when we were talking in free agency about one guy learning a language versus 21 guys learning another language, because I had been in the system, the Earhart system that he had come from, and he was all in as far as learning this system, and but he there's not much to tweak, man. He knows how to take care of himself, and he's a great player. His preparation reminds me so much of Peyton Manning. Those two guys just set the bar as far as preparation for the guys that I have coached. And, Ben didn't want that stuff. Big Ben, he just liked to go play, and he knew what he was doing, but you didn't want to overload him. But Andrew Luck was the same way. I mean, he was so smart. But all these guys have a grit about them that they can will themselves on other people and make them win.
Next, we'll go to Greg Auman.
Hey, Bruce, of all the challenges in this season, I wanted to ask you how you get a team to be as close as this team now is when you don't have the downtime and the personal interaction you normally have in a football season.
Yeah, it's been amazing, Greg. I think with the pandemic and the sacrifices that they've all made for each other, the only time they go to work and they go home, but we don't get to sit and eat together. We don't get to sit and just have conversations, but it's amazing to me how close this team is. And I think it's because of the commitment they made to one another to beat the virus before we could beat another team.
Next, we'll go to Sarah Walsh.
Hey, Bruce, I wanted to follow up with you on Jenna asked about the injuries and not specifically their status, but, throughout the course of the season, sometimes you're resting guys and trying to play the long game, and there is no long game here, right? There's just a couple of days left. So I know obviously you don't put anybody in jeopardy, but what are you telling these guys? And clearly it would be heartbreaking to be close to going and not be able to play in the game that everybody wants to play in. So what do you tell these guys in terms of trying to get them back and get them back in a safe manner?
Yeah, just be honest with me. Don't try to fool anybody. The worst thing that could happen for a guy who is limited is to come in and get hurt right away. Now we're down roster spots, and we're really, we didn't get the other guy ready. So we're getting a lot of guys ready, and we'll make those decisions on Saturday, who's going to be available, who's not, and hopefully we'll keep our fingers crossed they all are.
We have time for a couple more. Next, we'll go to Joel Erickson.
What did you take away from your first head coaching experience in Indianapolis, just that first year that you've carried with you through your coaching career?
I learned how to delegate. You know, that thing happened in 24 hours. So there was no time to try to do anything different. We had a great, Chuck had a great system, had a great schedule. I was just, hey man, everybody do your job. I'll decide if we're going to go for it on fourth down, and I don't give speeches, so I talked a little bit on Saturday nights. But hey, just do your job. And I realized two things: I could call plays and be a head coach, but I learned to delegate, and that was even more important.
Next, we'll go to Nick Jacobs.
Bruce, when you're watching Patrick Mahomes, what stands out to you about him skill set wise and what he's able to do on the field?
I guess great question, but it's probably better the other way. What doesn't surprise you? He can do anything. He can do anything and everything. When he backpedals, there is no pocket because he just keeps backpedaling, and no one in the league, any league, can stop and throw that ball, or you keep backpedaling and throw that ball as accurately down the field as far as he can. So he is a very, very unique player.
Next, we'll go to Kim Jones.
Hey, Bruce, I wanted to ask you a question about Jason, if I could. The Giants traded him to the Bucs for not a whole lot in return, essentially a third-round pick, I believe, in an exchange of fourth-round picks. Are you a believer that Jason flourished in a new environment, or did you guys unlock something in him that hadn't been unlocked in a while? What are your thoughts on a player doing so well with you when the team that drafted him was so willing to discard him?
Yeah, I mean, I thought he was playing well there, but he has just done everything he can to become an outside linebacker. He's played, he's been a defensive end most of his career, but I think the two best plays he's made all year are two interceptions. The hell with the sacks. Those two interceptions are still amazing to me. Dropping in, reading that screen against the Rams and dropping in coverage against the Panthers, and that smile on his face when he held onto the ball and had that interception. But he is playing lights out. I mean, and I expect a great game out of him.
Next, we'll go to Joe Rudder.
Yeah, Bruce. I just wondered, you had Alan Faneca in Pittsburgh. What did you see about him that made you think that this guy's on his way to having a Hall of Fame career, and do you think it's time he gets in?
Definitely time he gets in. I've never seen an interior lineman who could dominate games. I mean, Red was. I mean, he was the best point of attack blocker, but he out in space. He was like a running back, the best pulling guard I've ever been around. And best overall interior lineman I've ever coached, and it's way overdue. I mean, he's a very special player. The Steelers were known to run that football, and it was always usually behind Alan Faneca.
Last question will come from Steve Isbitz.
Coach, you said recently that defensive back is not generally a position that wants to play hurt, and can you talk about what Carlton Davis has gone through this year, maybe some stuff behind the scenes that we haven't seen?